Today's lecture is essentially talking about business continuity. Business continuity is very simple. Business continuity means you want to make sure your business doesn't have any interruption. What we need to do to make sure our business does not get any interruption. Now, then the second point is, what can cause interruption? There are lots of reasons, lots of things which can make interruption. It could be natural, it can be man-made disaster, it could be anything. But first of all, it is almost impossible that you can stop a disaster to happen. You cannot. If a natural disaster has to come, it will come, you cannot stop. So what do we do? What do we do then? What we do, we put the infrastructure in such a way that we minimize the impact of the disaster on our infrastructure. That's what we call business continuity. When we have these smoke alarms, in our homes, in our offices, what are those things? Essentially what we are saying is that I have invested in my business and I'm doing something. Whether I'm living here with my family or I'm doing my work, my business with my people. And I know that no matter what I do, no matter how strong policies and procedures I come up with, no matter how strong security system I implement, if something has to go wrong, there is a good chance it will go. But if it does, what is it that I need to do to make sure that I have least possible impact on the continuity of my business? This is a very simplistic definition of business continuity. But then it's not a small subject, it's a very, very vast subject. I will try to touch different aspects of business continuity disaster recovery. We never say that our business will never be interrupted because things do happen. You may have what you call thunderstorm, and you get the lightning on your home, on your office, and you get a problem. You may have flood, you may have some other stuff, anything can happen. So you just want to do the things in such a way. I mean, when we drive the car, why we always take extra care? Why we keep our eyes on the road? I mean, car is a vehicle, is some kind of machine, and as long as my hands are on the wheel, I should not have any problem. But while my hands are on the wheel, my eyes are also on the road. My mind is on the road. My mind is not anywhere else. Sometimes you will tell the other people within the same car, please don't disturb me. Why? Because you may see heavy traffic, maybe some congestion, some other stuff. So you like to be very focused on the road. Why? Because you are thinking, no matter how good driver I am, if something has to happen, it will happen. So let me do something such a way that if something does happen, I have a least amount of interruption to my business or impact on myself. Okay? So that's exactly what business continuity is. Let's go further and see if you had a storm or something, all those things.
Or you do it yourself.
Exactly. So you can see anything can happen anywhere at any time. Okay. So then, what exactly is the definition of disaster in your mind? We talked about business continuity, let's park it for a while. But what is a disaster? Some of us, unfortunately, of course, unknowingly, we plan for disaster due to our acts and our ignorance. So therefore, this word has significant meaning. And I'm glad that you clicked on this word because we really want to make sure that the disaster is not something that we had planned for. Okay? What is that planning or not planning for disaster? I mean, you invest in the infrastructure to do the things in such a way that if disaster does happen, it has the least amount of impact on your business continuity. Usually, many businesses go bankrupt because they believe perhaps that they're immune to disaster. That's absolutely, it's like fooling yourself. So they say, well, if something does happen, I have insurance policy and fine. Now, for example, I'm a bank, financial institution, and I did not believe in this business continuity disaster recovery. And God forbid something happens and I lose some of the information that people had kept with me, considering that yes, I have very secure storage facilities, but I did not. So what I lose on the reputation, which is priceless. It's priceless. Once you lose the reputation, it is almost impossible to bring back. So disaster is not necessarily something happening from outside. It could happen from inside as well. This is why when we go for the business continuity from infrastructure disaster recovery, sector, we work on the process and procedures and policies as well, and make sure our process procedures are such that they introduce controls. Disaster recovery, it is to recover from the disaster. So when you recover from the disaster, what is it to what state you are recovering to? To come back to the minimum state of operational state, okay?
The minimum, yes.
Very good. So does it not mean that you need to know what's a minimum operational state? Right? You need to know. So far we have been using the term business. Should we really continue using the word business? Or maybe there's another term that we should use? I mean, we keep saying secure your business. Come back to the minimum state of operation for your business. So we keep using the word or the term business. Is this the right term to use? Because you have a business, but business itself it has lots of components. So when you have a disaster, it's not necessarily mean that your entire business goes down. Maybe one segment, one particular aspect of your business goes down, but may not be the entire business. So when you do business impact analysis, what do? Do you do business impact analysis for the entire business or for some segments of your business?
Customer demand.
Customer demand. So you look at the customer demands and you do the impact analysis for that part of the business. Is that what you're saying?
I think you need to define what your critical elements are in your business first.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else?
We should have KPIs.
We should have KPIs for ourselves or for the business?
No, for the business.
Okay, for the business. Very good. Key performance indicators for the business. When you look at the business, this is your business. You are running a business to make money. So if you are getting a gain, so it's basically you are giving a service or product and in return, possibly money. And these are your customers here. And this is your business. So when you sit in your office and say, well, something could go wrong, something could happen. So what do I do to make sure something does happen, something sort of disaster? My business is not severely impacted. So then you will look at your business and say, what are the segments of my business? What are the different components of my business? Okay? And you find out these are all different components of business. Then you do something called criticality analysis. And you find out of all these different segments, there are certain segments which are very critical to me. They're all important, but some are extremely critical to me. Okay, then critical to what? When we say critical to me, what's the definition of criticality? Is it dollar figure? Is it revision? Is it something else? Okay, so that means, as you were saying, you need to have your KPIs. What are your KPI, key performance indicators? Or maybe what are your strategic objectives? So from your objectives, you actually come down, drill down. So for example, for a bank, if everything goes down, they always wish that their service, because they give you a service, let's say ATM machines. Okay, through ATM, they are making business. They are getting some money because people go and deposit some money through ATM machine, for example. So if you go to a bank and you ask them, what is the most critical element of your business? They would say, even if everything goes down, we wish that our ATM system does not go down. Suppose, okay, not necessarily mean that this is what bank will say there. Fine. Okay, ATM is perhaps the most critical function, business function that you have. Okay. Then second logical question comes, what's your tolerance level? How much can you stretch? So they will say, you know what? Yes, there is a possibility ATM will go down, but we wish it does not go down for more than 2 hours. If it does, what happens? Well, we'll start losing money. Of course. How much? Yeah, for each hour, we will probably lose $5 million for each hour, let's suppose. So now what they have basically told you, that look, first of all, we hope nothing goes wrong with our system, with our business. But if something does happen, we always hope that ATM system doesn't go down. But even if it does go down, then we always hope it doesn't stay down for more than 2 hours. Because if it does, then I'll start losing the money. You go to another institution, you ask them the same question. They say, we don't care about the money, but our most important system is a customer service system. Because we don't want to have an interruption for the customer. When customer call, we want to be there to respond to them. Okay, fine. So is that your critical system? Yeah, this is the most critical system. Okay, what's your tolerance level? They say we can afford only 30 minutes, not more than that. If our system, customer service system is down for more than 30 minutes, we believe we lose something which is priceless. So basically what you are doing here, you are analyzing your system. You are trying to understand their tolerance level. These are the things that we call RTOs and RPOs that I will explain further later on. So you basically try to find out, first of all, what are the critical elements of your business, and secondly, what's your tolerance level for each criticality. How much can you afford to have a disaster continue? Now that you understand, what's the next logical step that you will do? You will basically look at your processes and procedures and find out, do we have the process and procedures and the technology in place which ensures that if something does go wrong, we can bring the system up and running within that time span. So disaster recovery procedures, you look at your policies, your processes, procedures, and find out how friendly they are to ensure that you recover from the disaster. So I have just given you overall picture, but then we'll go further down. Threats. Some of the threats that you basically deal with, those could be your human threats. People who have the habit of just trying to sneak in, trying to find out. This is a human nature, of course. So you need to have some procedure in place whereby you keep monitoring human errors as well. You have technology, you have the infrastructure, all those things. Command control center will be established somewhere, and they will start working on it and get all the reports. So you have one command control center which is already working, but then a subset of the command control center is an entity that if disaster does happen, this command control center will immediately start executing. And this command control center is usually close to the place where the disaster has occurred. So they will go, they will start getting the reports, coordinating among different entities, and start working on it. But some entities, some individual who will start coordinating with people, either airlines or with the local police or with the ambulance or with other things, these people are the central entities. They were coordinating all the activities with all the stakeholders, okay, even to the press and media. So disaster recovery team leaders, the individuals for each system, are responsible to make sure, making sure that they bring the system according to their defined RTOs. Now, who are those individuals? Those individuals could be technical people. In fact, they are technical people. But then they have to understand that if something happens and I receive a call, this is what I need to do. No questions asked. That's it. You are part of the sequence, and you have to just execute the sequence. This is why we do on regular basis some test runs, and sometimes we do the test without telling the people, like in schools. Sometimes we have those fire alarms and fire drills and everything. That's exactly what happens in the businesses. Okay, so this is your call tree. So you will say position, vice president of IT, for example, name is ABC, home number, mobile number, other contact information, all those things. So you basically go down, you develop complete call tree. Help desk plays a major role because there are some entities who are not informed and they have lots of questions. They will call, they will ask. By the way, one of the things that many people don't look at very seriously, but it becomes a major issue, and that is how to stop the rumors. Because when something happens, rumors will start happening. Okay, people will start calling each other. Oh, I heard something has happened. Did you hear that? Yeah, I heard this and that. So people will start adding something to that, some cream and some glazing and all those kind of stuff. And then small disasters sound like a big disaster. So as a part of CMT, this is an additional responsibility that you have. How do you respond to the public? How do you respond to the people who are not part of the disaster recovery, but they need to have information? So what information you actually convey to them? How do you tell them? How often do you give them information? So that's another area that you have to
We
work
have
with.
some example of VP, Vice President
Yeah.
in the story.
Exactly.
So one of the aspects from our last year, details.
I was going to give on that as an observation actually from this.
is people need to remember it's not just all about the IT system. It's about the business that uses the IT system. And my experience, I've been involved as somebody bringing on board for a CMT. It's often the people that are the biggest unpredictables about a disaster situation,
Yeah,
and you need to carefully manage that
absolutely.
very quickly, very promptly. The
Because
IT
even though
system,
you have a person, sorry,
yeah,
as the individual who's dealing with a particular item on the call tree, not much thought is given to the capability of, as a person that can lead in a normal situation,
Mm-hmm.
what happens in a crisis situation. There's a ice,
Yeah.
ice falling
Yeah.
type of thing, right? And so you have to,
Another aspect is which is usually overlooked is that sometimes the people who are part of the call tree, they will perhaps feel or they in fact believe that they know better than what the call tree is suggesting. So they can do better than that. Okay. So another thing that you have to make sure that people understand that they follow the procedures religiously. No outside intelligence edit. Okay, we have done enough, so you just follow the procedure. That's about it. Okay, you have to report to XYZ. You don't like him, but you have to report to him because he and you both are part of the call tree and the disaster recovery procedure. So that element is extremely important. It's very, very critical. I remember some examples. Some people thought they have better knowledge than what call tree or the business recovery plan is suggesting, so they thought they could add value. In fact, they were taking the value out of the procedure. Now, what I just said, that some people believe that they have better knowledge and they could add value to the procedure. Perhaps the procedure is not as comprehensive as it should be, and they feel that they need to add value, and which in fact we discourage. We don't want them to do that. But how do you deal with this situation? Because that problem may be a real problem. Maybe indeed the individual does have better knowledge, and perhaps indeed there was something wrong with the procedure.
That's
But as a business owner, what do you like to do?
Review this.
I'm asking that you think that this could happen. So what would you like to do to make sure it doesn't happen?
Well, that's part of your actual development of the scenarios. You make sure you involve everybody at that
Beautiful.
point.
yeah.
Not only that you involve, you continue review your procedures and make sure all the stakeholders are brought on board and they review it, and if there is any customization, any improvement needed, they do over here. Look at that call tree, their home number, mobile, and even other contact information.
No, but sometimes
What are the
somebody's not
and
there.
then other backups.
Yeah, the backup should be identified.
Another thing which I thought I should just share with you before we touch this subject. The disaster recovery procedure, business continuity planning, business impact analysis, RTOs, RPOs, CMT procedure, the call tree, all these things also have major impact on the human being, the people, the knowledge level of the people, the competency of the people. Now, for example, you thought that my stretch, the time that I can stretch is 2 hours. Now, where did this 2 hours come from? There's another procedure, there's another process. You execute the process to determine what's my tolerance level, what should be my tolerance level. It's not a gut feeling. The chairman of the company, he woke up in the morning and thought, well, I can tolerate for 2 hours. No, there got to be a logical reason for that number. Should it be 2 hours? Should it not be 1 hour and 55 minutes? Why not? Why should it not be 2 hours and 30 minutes? Why just these 2 hours? So there itself, there is a procedure that you execute to find out, to determine what are the ranges that are considered as your tolerance levels. Okay? But then you came up with a number considering the competency level of your people. So you look at your people, you talk with the management, you find out how many people we have, what do they do, what sort of technology we have, how strong that technology is, how effective our infrastructure is. You look at everything. And that tells you 2 hours is something that you can perhaps afford. But tomorrow, investing in your people, improve their competency level, then this should perhaps go down. Because it's the people who have to do the things.